In this video, we're going to look at the concept of revisions in Git and some of the ways that we can specify different revisions as part of a variety of commands. Let's take a look at the man pages for Git revisions. Here we can see that there are ways to specify revisions as well as ranges of revisions in Git. We're just going to look at specifying individual revisions. One thing I'd like to note is that revisions, which are often referred to as rev like this throughout Git's documentation and man pages, typically but not necessarily refer to a commit object. So they can refer to other things like trees and blobs, but the ones we're going to look at tend to refer to a commit object. If you'd like, you can go ahead and look at the man pages for Git revisions like we're doing here. You can scroll down and look through a bunch of different examples. One of the key examples is a SHA itself, but we're going to look at a few more here in a second. So first I want to come over to this panel and do a Git log just so we can see a history of commits in the current repository that I'm working with. And then back over here, I'm going to start with a pretty common ref or revision that we'll see, which is the head. So if I say git show, and I'm going to use name only throughout all of these so that I don't list all of the diff as part of a commit as well. I'm going to say head. And this will show me the most recent commit, which is what head is pointing at right now. And we'll just see the file names because of the name only tag, and we won't see all the diff. That'll just keep things kind of concise as we're walking through these. When we run git show, it assumes head, so I can just exclude that and it'll show me the same thing. We can also look at not the most recent commit, but the commit right before it using this tilde here. And we can see custom pager, those line up. Now we can do all sorts of things with this tilde. We can put a number on it. 1 is the same as just specifying a tilde, or we can specify multiple tildes to say go back 2 or go back 3. We can see we're jumping back now to the 3 ago. And similarly, instead of saying go back 3 like that, we can put a 3 there. It gives us the same thing. Again, still this DOB commit. Now this is nice for working with a tree structure where it's really just a single line of commits. If you're working with a tree structure where there's a lot of branching, depending on what you're trying to do, you may need to use the hat symbol right here. This by itself says give me the first parent. And so then if there's a branch and there's 2 parents, you need to say give me the first parent or give me the second parent. In this case, I only have a first parent, so that'll work. But this, we won't find a revision. So if you wanted to keep finding the first parent and go all the way up like that, you could. But that's in the case of a single line tree structure like we have here, that's equivalent to just doing 4 tildes like that. Now, another one that I think is pretty cool is you can do a search for a particular regular expression that shows up in the commit message that you've left. So if I'm curious about, say, the Ruby right here, that's my most recent commit, that should show up here. And this is a helpful message which says we need to help it disambiguate. So if I add these 2 dashes here, we're telling it that this is the revision and not the file name. Now we run that and we see the Ruby commit comes up. But what if I'm curious, okay, when was the last time I wrote something about, I don't know, closure? Ooh, that takes us way back to 2015. So yeah, that's a nice way to search through your commit history to find a particular thing. Other ways that I've used this before is to look for like typo or fix or, maybe a particular class name that I know has been used. I'll search that way. So these are the main ways that I like to refer to different revisions throughout my Git repository. Mostly they're for looking through the history, but it's there's other use cases where you might want to use them. For instance, sometimes I will have done some fix-up commits or will want to squash certain commits together. And so what I'll do on a feature branch is I'll go in and I'll grab a SHA like this, and then I will say git rebase-i interactive. And so if I were to run it like that, it would give me all of the commits before this one on my current branch. But usually when I'm doing an interactive rebase, the commit that I've sort of copied is one that I want to be part of that interactive rebase. So then I just put a single tilde like that, and that then references the one before it. And that allows me to get into an interactive rebase situation where I'm dealing with, just pull that out a little bit, where I'm dealing with all of these commits, including this one right here at the top. I'm going to put out of that because I don't actually want to do a rebase here. There are a couple other revisions that I tend to reference from time to time. For instance, if I get myself into a sticky situation where I need to reference the ref log, I'll open that up, and let me slide this out again. We can see that there are all of these SHAs here for the different entries in the ref log, but we can also reference these with the head and then @1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So if I'm ever needing to, revert to, say, head 10 here, I can grab that and I can do some sort of reset hard to something like that, for instance. I can also just, like any other revision, I can just show what's there. So I can look at that and see the changes that are stored in that particular reference in the ref log. In addition to the ref log revisions, another common scenario is if I were to have made some changes in my README, like this, have those changes there, I can go ahead and say git stash to stash those changes. And then if I were to open up the README and make some more changes, like adding, I don't know, aardvark here. And I save that, then I could stash that as well. And so now I've got two things in my stash. And so if I were to say git stash list, we'd see both of those listed here, and they are referable via this stash @0, stash @1. And so I can go ahead and grab this one and say git show, and I can see those lines I deleted back then at that stash. And that's a nice way if you need to refer back to a stash, see maybe not what you did in the most recent stash, but a couple stashes ago, to see if there's some changes that you want to sort of rehydrate into your working tree. So that's pretty much it for the Git revisions that I wanted to look at. As a reminder, you can go to man git revisions like that to see more details on all of the different ones that are available to you. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about Git and other things that you can do in the command line, definitely hit the subscribe button. Leave any comments if you have suggestions or questions, and I will see you in the next video.